Alright, so before we start the video, I gotta make a correction. Now, I did spend the whole video mentioning that the blue wire, which is this one right here, is the low beam. That is wrong. That is not the low beam. The low beam is the yellow and blue wire. Alright, so I got my information off the internet, of course, and it was wrong. So just a heads up, if you're watching this video, if you're wiring it just like I am, your blue light, your blue wire is your running lamp. All right, that's your running lamp. The blue and white one, that's your high beam. Blue yellow, that's your low beam, and the black one is your ground. So once again, I'm gonna repeat it, and then of course I'll put it in the video. Your blue wire is your running light. The blue white one, that is your high beam. The blue yellow is your low beam, and the black one is your ground. So just a heads up, make sure you get that right, because I don't want to be responsible for you guys if you were to short out your headlight. Good night, vatos. Thanks again for tuning into yet another video. Infamous coming at you live from the West Coast yet again. We are assembling our LP6 connector off of this. So you could of course splice into your headlight, stuff like that, your wiring, but I just want to, you know, leave it as stock as possible, just in case if I have to, you know, change my LP6 to a regular headlight, in case, because you know I do live in California and they're strict. So what I'm doing is I'm using this connector off of Amazon. This is a touring model to a LED H4 connector. So it's your I believe it's 2014 and up headlight connector to a H4. This is what that's called. So inexpensive, about, you know, 10-15 bucks, I'm not too sure. So we're just gonna remove these connectors and use the connector provided from Baja Designs, which is this one right here. So just looking at the wiring, of course, here are the instructions. Do not wire your low beam and your high beam together, meaning 1 and 3, because that's gonna completely damage the headlight. So we have to make sure that we don't wire both the low beam and the high beam at the same time. And in case you're wondering, there's numbers on this connector as well. I mean, you can barely see them, but you can see them. So I'm not sure if the camera's gonna pick it up. But we do have a 1 there, we have a 2 there, 3, and then a 4. So I don't think the camera's gonna pick it up, but there it is. They're numbered, so we're looking at it like this, just like this. All right, so let's go ahead and depin or remove these connectors like so. Put your flathead in there, lift it, and then pull the connector out. There's one. There's 2. And then we got one more. So there's 3. Alright, so that's the H4 connector. It's now removed. Alright, so now we have to, of course, cut this off, because we don't need these connectors. Alright, so let's go ahead and cut these off. We don't need these anymore, so we're just gonna cut them. Right there, I'd say. Just try to save as much wire as possible. Alright, so we went ahead, cut off the connectors, because we're gonna use these instead. Alright, this is all provided from the LP6 light, so we're using these instead. And in case you're wondering about these extra wires back here, yeah, they're just kind of spliced into the blue and the black one right there. So you could, you know, you could wire something else off of these lines, but remember, these are going to be connected already from the factory. So I'm not moving any of the wires on the mount, so we're going to keep it as stock as possible. But this would be your headlight. This red one is going to be your high beam, and the white one's going to be your daylight running lamp, and then of course the black one is your ground. So like I said, based off of the image, I think I'm going to put an image right here you should be able to see the factory one, but we'll just call it as it is. Like I said, this is the black wire, which is ground. Let me use my reference real quick. So yeah, that's gonna be the ground. The like I said, the yellow and blue one, that's your daylight running lamp. The red one, which is the blue and white one, that's gonna be your high beam. And then that solid blue line, which is right there, that's your low beam. All right, so once again, ground, daylight running lamp, high beam, and then your low beam. So looking at the back of this, of course. All right, so let's look at the connector itself here. So we have one up here, the top right is blue, that's your low beam. Number 2 is ground, you can see it right here, that's ground, so that's black. Number 3, that's your amber backlight, so that's your daylight running lamp, and that is white. And then the high beam, number 4, that's red. That's gonna be your high beam. So go ahead and expose some of this wire. This looks like, what is this, like 20 gauge? Let's go ahead and start with let's start with 18. Let's try not to take too much. And 18 looks about right. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at this real quick. Okay, we need more. We have to take off a little bit more. I don't, looks like it'll fit, but no, let's go ahead and take a little bit more off the top. I think this much. Go ahead. So we're using the 16-18 gauge. Go ahead, and you want that smaller portion of the connector to be just wire, so you can see how it's slightly bigger on the end. So this is what this will crimp onto the insulator, and then this is supposed to connect to the wire itself. But these are a little bit thinner. This might be like 22 gauge, and I believe these are meant for 16 gauge, 14 gauge, I think. So what I'm doing is I'm just hitting it twice with the crimping tool. So we're going to be using 24 to 22, because even 22, 24 is still not enough to crimp down on it. So we do that, and it's still loose, so we're just going to turn it upside down and then hit it again this way. And now we have full contact on that. So that's how I was able to kind of get it to work, even though it's not like the right size. So we're using 24 to 22. Go ahead and just give it one more. So that's connected, and then of course we're going to go down here to the main one, the bigger one, and that's going to be 20 to 18. And then that grips on there, so you can see that's how that goes. So I mean, I think it should be fine, hopefully. So let's go ahead and grab the last two. This is taking way too long now. Alright, so there we go. They're all now connected. We'll probably tape these up or something. Make sure that they're separated, because ground and blue, they are gonna short out, or there are going to be a closed circuit, and that's going to be bad. So we're gonna tape these up with electrical tape and then separate them, make sure they're not touching. So we have that connected, of course. That's pretty much ready, and then we go right back to this. All right, so let's go ahead and start placing these. Blue low beam, of course, that's going to go into number 1. Low beam, as you can see right here, low beam number 1. So push that through until it sits. All right, that's that one. Number 2 is black. That's your ground. Let's go ahead and grab our ground. Push that through until it's fully seated. It locks in. So All right, the little locking mechanisms are, I don't know if you guys can see, but they're right in there, right there. So that's what locks them in case you have to take them off. You just put that in and then open it just like that. All right, and then of course that is 1, 2. You can, like I said, you can see it right here, 1, 2, and then 3 is our amber backlight. So that would be our daytime running lamp, and that is the white one on this connector. Of course, you have to make sure you know, your connector might have different colors. So that's that one, and then red one on this connector is our high beam. So then that's going to go into number 4. Number 4, like so. Push that all the way through until it locks in. There we go. You heard it snap. So that's pretty much it. And then we just close this off with this holder, or whatever you call this thing. Is there a proper way to do it? No, I guess not. It's just, so that's in there, and that is our connector for the LP6. Let's go ahead and connect this and then turn the bike on and see what happens. Alright, so here we have the end of the video. Of course, please follow the instructions. Check your wires. If you have a multimeter, check the voltage on the blue and yellow wire. If you hit the high beam switch, then you shouldn't have voltage going to your blue and yellow one. So if you want to check that out. So here it is. I fixed it. Hopefully the video doesn't confuse you too much, but oh yes, one more note. This is not supposed to be wired to this gauge of wire. You're supposed to use 14 to 16 gauge wire for this light. We are using a wire that's 18 to 20, so I do not recommend you using high beam with this wire. Based off of other feedback, comments on other videos, and what I've kind of looked into, you do get a code on your gauges if you run the high beam for a long period of time. So just stay tuned for another video. I'm going to be wiring a different harness, just so you guys could check that out, and maybe you might either do this one. If you live in California, this is going to be fine. You can have it on low beam all the time. Like I said, if you're running high beam all the time, maybe like 20 minutes or even like half an hour, if you're running with a high beam for more than a half an hour, then I would probably say connect it with a proper harness. You guys stay out there, stay safe, don't believe everything you read, life's a risk, get out there and ride. Later.